Okay, y'all. This is one to grab your popcorn, grab a drink, because we're going to be spilling some tea on very popular books that I've read that I just really did not enjoy. All of these books are going to be 2 or 1 star reads. However, quick disclaimer, it's my opinion. I like to do these videos not to bash the books or the author completely. I know that there are people that are going to like these books. Reading is very subjective, but I do these because I like to have conversation in the comments about why someone else agreed that they disliked it and that the hype was way too overhyped for this book, or that someone liked it, and to see their perspective, you know? I don't necessarily think that my view is going to change on these books, but it's fun to see why the hype is there. I like to understand that. So yeah, I thought about doing this video because I did a quick TikTok that I'll put here that was talking about these books, and there was a lot of discourse in the comments, so I figured why not have a long form content video about those books to lead to more discussion. So grab a drink, I have a Mineragua here, and let's just get right into it. Hey y'all, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Scotty Cherie Reads. So we're just gonna jump in with the first book immediately. And I've talked about this book on my channel before, and that is 7 Days in June. So I have Goodreads pulled up because I'm gonna kind of fly through the synopsis, because some of these books I've read quite a while ago, but I remember this one pretty well. I remember that there's a main character named Eva, who is a big time erotic author. And there's this dude named Shane, who's also a big time author. And they haven't been in communication for years. They used to have a fling back in high school, seven Days in June. You know, that was a little romance. And then something happened, which I'm not going to spoil. And they didn't talk forever. But there is this like book talk or like book conference thing that's going on, and they are in the same place, and they choose to kind of get to know each other a little bit better. So this book is marketed as a romance, and I think that that is my biggest problem. I think that if this book was marketed as just a plain old contemporary, I would have been fine with it. I just felt that the relationship between Eva and Shane wasn't based on anything aside from lust and trauma. And I kind of have a problem with that because I feel like there needs to be Black romance books that aren't solely focused on just traumatic experiences. I know that that can be the truth, but this book, it didn't feel like there was anything else aside from just lust and the trauma bond that they had that was the reason why they were together. I think that both of them could have found relationships with other people and it would have been a better relationship for them. I don't know. I feel like so many people love this book that I get so like flabbergasted when people were like, oh my God, you didn't like that. You didn't like that book. Like, what the hell? I've said this before, but I read Kennedy Ryan's The Skyland series. I loved the first two. The third one I didn't care about too much. That can be a controversial take. I'm so disappointed about it, but I'll leave my rant review about that third book specifically up top. But I think that that did a better job of, there was trauma, there were hard topics. It wasn't just a fluffy romance, but I felt like for the majority of those books, the people actually belonged together and I could root for them and I could see it. But for 7 Days in June, I just did not feel that way. And that was ultimately why I didn't like this book. I think I gave it 2 stars. I had some problems with the daughter, like Eva's daughter. No spoilers, but their relationship was interesting to me. But yeah, I mean, that's my main thing. I just don't think that it was a romance at all. And I wish it wasn't marketed that way because I think going into it thinking that it was going to be a romance, it just was not for me. So yeah, that's 7 Days in June. Unfortunately, don't come for me. Okay, the next one is the famous, very well loved Lessons in Chemistry. So I'm gonna read the synopsis here and then get into the reasons why it did not work for me at all. So it says, chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. But it's the early 1960s and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality, except for one, Calvin Evans, the lonely, bright, Nobel Prize nominated grudge holder who falls in love with, of all things, her mind. So it's a grumpy sunshine trope. True chemistry results. But like science, life is unpredictable, which is why a few years later, Elizabeth finds herself not only a single mother, but the reluctant star of America's most beloved cooking show, Supper at Six. Elizabeth's unusual approach to cooking proves revolutionary. But as her following grows, not everyone is happy, because it turns out Elizabeth isn't just teaching women to cook, she's daring them to change the status quo. Laugh out loud funny, shrewdly observant, and studded with a dazzling cast of supporting characters. We'll get into that. Lessons in Chemistry is as original and vibrant as its protagonist. So that sounds so good. I was so excited to pick it up, and the hype was so real with this book. But it just fell so flat for me. This is one of those like feminist books that is being, I don't want to say too feminist, but just too on the nose. Also, sorry, it is storming here in Phoenix, thank goodness, but it might be picked up here, my bad. But it just didn't feel believable. Like this main character, it just didn't seem, she seemed like she was popped out of whatever year this book came out of, like 2020, 2021 or whatever, and had these insane thoughts, and not someone from the 60s. Like it just didn't connect. It didn't make any sense to me. I also didn't like that because she was so science focused, and that was the point of this book, I feel like the author didn't give space for Elizabeth to actually have emotions, because it felt like having emotions and having feelings would seem too womanly for this character. Like you can have both. You can be an emotional or someone that taps into their feelings and also be a very science brain person as well. And I just didn't like that it was just one or the other. Like it just kind of put Elizabeth in a box, in my opinion. I also thought the book was just boring. I just felt it was boring. It's kind of a thick book, and it took me a long time to get through because I was just not captivated. I think the other problems is that it jumps too much between very serious topics like sexual assault, rape, things like that. Check the trigger warnings, to then lighthearted stuff like teaching your dog how to learn English. Like the juxtaposition just didn't work, and I just didn't feel fully invested in the story. I said this before, the main character is just too over the top, the type of feminist that I honestly don't really care for, just too in your face, you know, it just was not my thing. I just don't understand why this book, the way that it was marketed, was like, this is so powerful and so moving and groundbreaking. And the things that you learn about and stuff, it's like, we already know all of this. Like, we're not in the 60s where no one respects women. Like we've moved past this. I didn't feel like I learned anything or was moved by this book at all. And if you were, cool. I wish that I was, but I was not. It just fell super flat for me. Not my cup of tea. I gave it like 2 stars, maybe 2.5 stars. I didn't watch the adaptation or anything. I don't have any reason to. Just, yeah, not for me. This next one let me down so much because the idea was so great, but the execution was so terrible. I'm so sorry. I really don't like this book. Some of these I'm like, wasn't for me, but I really don't suggest this book for anyone to read. There are way better books out here that are doing this idea way better, and that is Such a Fun Age. All right, let's get into the synopsis. It says, Such a Fun Age is a page-turning and big-hearted story about race and privilege set around a young black babysitter, her well-intentioned employer, and a surprising connection that threatens to undo them both. Alex Chamberlain is a woman who gets what she wants and has made a living with her confidence-driven brand, showing other women how to do the same. So she is shocked when her babysitter, Amira Tucker, is confronted while watching the Chamberlains' toddler one night walking the aisles of their local high-end supermarket. The store's security guard, seeing a young black woman out late with a white child, accuses Amira of kidnapping 2-year-old Briar. A small group gathers, a bystander films everything, and Amira is furious and humiliated. As she should be. Jesus, it's sad. Alex resolves to make things right. But Amira herself is aimless, broke, and wary of Alex's desire to help. At 25, she is about to lose her health insurance and has no idea what to do with her life. When the video of Amira unearths someone from Alex's past, both women find themselves in a crash course that will upend everything they think they know about themselves and each other. With empathy and piercing social commentary, Such a Fun Age explores the stickiness of transactional relationships, what it means to make someone family, and the complicated reality of being grown up. So that sounds so good, does it not? Like, black babysitter watching a wealthy white family's baby goes to their local grocery store that's very high end. Someone randomly just interjects themselves into this and assumes that the black babysitter has kidnapped this baby. Wild shit like that actually happens. So I thought it was gonna be so good. One, the dialogue was garbage and just like very unbelievable. It was hard to get through from the beginning. Like I was like, dang, I don't really like this at all, but the premise sounds really good, so I'm gonna keep going. And I probably shouldn't have. The ending was insanely rushed. I hated the ending. We're not gonna get into spoilers, but if you know, you know. It was wrapped up so fast and it just wasn't great. Sorry, I have notes here because I read some of this stuff a long time ago. But the way that it was marketed was that there was like an aftermath of this big racial event, you know? And I thought that we were gonna dive so much into that and the relationship between Amira and Alex and to see what that looks like from two different worlds. And that's just not ultimately what the story gave. So if that's what you were looking for, like I was looking for, that's very much not it. I think Amira complained a lot about being 25 and like not having a job and like about to get kicked off her health insurance, which are valid things that happen and are concerning, but she literally wasn't doing anything to better herself at all until her friend group came in and suggested, even like basically Amira didn't have a job and she was saying like, oh, what was me, all of this stuff. But then they're like, have you applied for jobs? She's like, well, no, I haven't, but still feel bad for me. And it's like, no, she didn't get her ass in gear until her friends told her to. And I get that sometimes that takes, like, you need that, but it just didn't seem like Amira was doing anything for herself at all. So it made it hard for me to feel bad for her in that situation, you know? Like, I've been there, I know what that feels like to get kicked off your parents' insurance and how scary that is, but you also have to have autonomy and, like, try to figure some shit out yourself. And it didn't seem like she was doing any of that, so I just didn't really care for her. There is this love interest in here. I don't remember his name, Kelly, I want to say. And it was just giving white man that fetishizes black women, and Amira was letting him do that. And that just ticked me off to no end. I couldn't. Literally the only thing in this book that I kind of cared about was Amira's relationship with her friends. That's probably why I got a 2-star instead of a 1-star, but that was it. You can skip this one. I don't say read this book. I don't think it's a good example of an important topic. It's not done well. Just don't do it. Okay. The Final Girl Support Group, in my brain, is just a bad book. This is a 1-star for me. I don't think anyone likes this book unless you're really, really into slashers. But even if you are, I feel like it's going to be disappointing because the ending was terrible. Like, I don't know. This could be a situation for me because I've read a couple of slasher books. Like, I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I feel like there's another one, The Final Girls, something by Riley Sager. I'll put it here. I've read them and those were like, okay, like, but this one was just so bad. And I think that if it's a niche thing that you really enjoy, maybe you'll like it, but it wasn't for me. For one, Grady Hendrix's humor was not for me. I think that there were way too many pop culture references because these girls that's in this Final Girl Support Group kind of have bases from movies, slasher movies, and it's kind of fun, you know, to figure out which movie each girl's from, but it just wasn't done well. So let me just get into what the book's actually about. It says, in horror movies, the final girls are the ones left standing when the credits roll. They made it through the worst night of their lives, but what happens after? The Final Girl Support Group pays tribute to and slyly subverts our most popular horror films. I don't think that it was done slyly at all. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. Lynette is a real-life final girl who survived a massacre. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other final girls and their therapists in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, working to put their lives back together. Then one woman misses a meeting and their worst fears are realized. Someone knows about the group and is determined to rip their lives apart again, piece by piece. But the thing about Final Girls is that no matter how bad the odds, how dark the night, how sharp the knife, they will never ever give up. Okay, so yeah, humor wasn't good. Maybe I'm just not a slasher girly, and that's okay, but this book really pissed me off because the one black final girl that was in this group is killed first when shit goes to hell in this private group and people are starting to get picked off one by one. Black girl's dead first. Annoying enough, yes. But then why does the black character come back as the spiritual Negro, basically, in this story? Like, I should have DNF'd the book at that point. No. Like, just no. I'm tired of that spiritual black being coming back to be guidance to other people who were living. I'm done with that. Like, that's not it. I can't. There were too many characters and they weren't believable, very stereotypical. It was hard jumping from all of their perspectives and stories to keep everything straight. It just didn't work. It was confusing. And then the final, like, act of the book, like the final third with how this wrapped up, it just kept going on and on and on. It was way too long, twist after twist, that at the end you were just exhausted and it was not worth it at all. It wasn't worth it. Just don't pick it up. Don't pick it up. All right, let's get this one out of the way. We have The Love Hypothesis by the beloved Ali Hazelwood. To start, as I say all the time, I'm not really a romance girly. I found Kennedy Ryan. I like that. I'm dabbling in stuff, but this just didn't work for me. But I don't like a fluffy romance, so maybe it's just a me thing. But let's just get into the synopsis. It says, when a fake relationship between scientists meets the irresistible force of attraction, it throws one woman's carefully calculated theories on love into chaos as a third-year PhD candidate. Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships, but her best friend does, and that's what got her into the situation. Convincing An that Olive is dating and well on her way to a happily ever after was always going to take more than hand-wavy Jedi mind tricks. Okay, we'll go back to that. Scientists require proof. So like any self-respecting biologist, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees. That man is no other than Adam Carlson, a young hotshot professor and a well-known ass. Which is why Olive is positively floored when Stanford's reigning lab tyrant agrees to keep her charade a secret and be her fake boyfriend. So fake dating trope in this story, cool. And when a big science conference goes haywire, putting Olive's career on the Bunsen burner, Adam surprises her again with his unyielding support and even more unyielding six-pack abs. Suddenly, their little experiment feels dangerously close to combustion, and Olive discovers that the only thing more complicated than a hypothesis on love is putting her own heart under the microscope. Okay, so scientists falling in love, fake dating, cool, I'll give this a try. This sounds like it can be cute. Nah, I can't do miscommunication at all. We're too grown to be having fights that could have been solved, and the drama in this book being that y'all aren't just being adults and talking to each other. I can't do it. Any miscommunication trope is not for me, so please don't suggest those books to me because it's not for me at all. There was also a really messed up situation in this book where Olive did these weird, like, sexual harassment, like, cute, quirky things that she would say to this guy. But then, and it's like, okay, that's kind of annoying. I can get over that, sure. But later in the book, there's actually a sexual harassment situation that happens, and then everyone wants to take it serious and can't believe that someone would say that when Olive, this whole story, has been saying real messed up stuff in a cute, quirky way. It was just a mess. It was a mess. It was a mess. I also hated that there were basically every other character that was a minor character in this book was a minority, but they were so stereotypical that it just felt like boxes were just checked. We got an Asian, cool. We got a black person, cool. And this is how they're gonna act. And I have that. It's a diverse book, and not here for that at all. I wish I had the patience to go back through this book and count the amount of times that big, strong, handsome, six-pack abs were explained about the male main character, and the amount of times that little, frail, skinny was the female main character. Just gross to me. Yeah, I don't think that I'll be giving Allie Hazelwood a chance. I know there are some other books, maybe The Deep, I don't know. I think it's about like BDSM, maybe because it's a little more, not as fluffy and gets a little more in there. Maybe that'll be for me and I'll try that. We'll see. Maybe I'll do like an author, like another final try, and I'll try that book. Let me know in the comments below if that sounds interesting. But yeah, Love Hypothesis was not for me. This one's gonna hurt, y'all. I don't know. This is one that I kind of feel funny about because it's a trilogy, and I DNF'd this book. I couldn't even finish it. But then I felt like at that time I was the only person that did not like this book, and it felt so weird because I literally couldn't find another person. And then book 2 and book 3 came out, and then everyone else kind of went on this train of it just got really, really bad. Maybe even some ghostwriting or another author finished the series. Not sure, just speculation, but that is Children of Blood and Bone. A YA black fantasy. How did I not like it? Let's just get into the synopsis really quickly. It says, they killed my mother. They took our magic. They tried to bury us. Now we rise. Zelie remembers when the soil of Orisha hummed with magic. Burners ignited flames, Tiders beckoned waves, and Zelie's Reaper mother summoned forth souls. But everything changed the night magic disappeared. Under the orders of a ruthless king, Magi were killed, leaving Zelie without a mother and her people without hope. Now Zelie has one choice to bring back magic and strike against the monarchy. With the help of a rogue princess, Zelie must outwit and outrun the crowned prince, who is hell-bent on eradicating magic for good. Danger lurks in Orisha, where snow leprinaires, I think that's how you say it, prowl and vengeful spirits wait in the waters. Yet the greatest danger may be Zelie herself, as she struggles to control her powers and her growing feelings for an enemy. So magical animals, one person, mom died, sounds like a Disney film, coming out here trying to be a badass girl. I couldn't finish it. I felt like the writing itself was not good. And I don't want to say just because it's YA. Like, there are YA fantasies and stuff that I still enjoy, and I understand that you have to put yourself in that space because it's written for young adults, but you can still have good writing, and there's still good YA fantasy books out there. But this was just not it. The pacing was so off for me. It would be super slow, and then there's this huge scene that you've been waiting for so long will be done in like 4 pages. Like, the pacing was so bad, and that's ultimately why I put it down. It was also very insta-lovey. The relationship that was in here happened in like 2 pages, which sometimes that happens in YA, but I just can't deal with it. So maybe I'm just being too harsh because it's young adult, but I just really did not like it. It seemed like it had so much promise, but it was not it. It just seemed like a very typical tropey YA story. And hold on, y'all, I got some tea, so don't get mad at me. I truly felt when this book came out in, I think, 2018, that because there weren't a lot of black YA fantasy books, that this was just automatically uplifted because that's what you were supposed to do. And no one was critiquing it because it was a black author and we needed more in that space. And that's tough, And that's why, I don't like to bash this book because we need more YA fantasies. And I don't want to bash one of the only ones that we had in 2018. Luckily, we have more coming out and some that are far better in my opinion. But I don't know, it felt to me that people were just uplifting this book just because it was black. And sometimes you have to do that, but I just could not, I don't know, I just couldn't do it. And seems like there's some stuff going on with the author now, with this new movie that's coming out. So I don't know. I guess the thing for me is that because my expectations were so low, I will support and watch that series or movie. I'm not sure if it's a series or movie, whatever the adaptation is to come out, because I feel like it's down here that it can only be better, you know? Even though there's some videos about the casting where there's supposed to be, you know, a dark skinned main character, but the person that was cast maybe was not a dark skinned character. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I called that from the beginning. I couldn't even finish the first one. So yeah, that just series was not for me, unfortunately. But yeah, we need more YA good black fantasy writers out here. All right, let's talk about the very popular Alex Michaelides, and I'm talking about The Maidens. So I read The Silent Patient, and I thought it was just okay. You know, typical thriller, nothing that I really remember very well, was fine enough, didn't leave me upset. Then The Maidens, which used to be like kind of a dark academia book that was coming out, I was like, ooh, I think that this is gonna be great. Nah, nah, nah. All right, synopsis time. Edward Fosca is a murderer. Of this, Mariana is certain. But Fosca is untouchable. A handsome and charismatic Greek tragedy professor at Cambridge University, Fosca is adorned by staff and students alike, particularly by the members of a secret society of female students known as the Maidens. Mariana is a brilliant but troubled group therapist who becomes fixated on the Maidens when one member, a friend of Mariana's niece, Zoe, is found murdered in Cambridge. Mariana, who was once herself a student at the university, quickly suspects that behind the idyllic beauty of the spires and turrets, and beneath the ancient tragedies or traditions, lies something sinister, and she becomes convinced that despite his alibi, Edward Fosca is guilty of the murder. But why would the professor target one of his students? And why does he keep returning to the rites of Persephone, the maiden, and her journey to the underworld? When another body is found, Mariana's obsession with proving Fosca's guilt spirals out of control, threatening to destroy her credibility as well as her closest relationships. But Mariana is determined to stop this killer, even if it cost her everything, including her own life. Does that not sound good? Like, that sounded so, so good. But it was a mess. It was boring for the majority of this book, even though it seemed like it would have been high stakes and you would have, and I still like educational settings. And that's a part of this, like part of dark academia. That was there, but it just wasn't done well, in my opinion. The plot twist made no effing sense at all. But the biggest thing that pissed me off about this book is that Mariana is a therapist, but she plays detective in this book like none other. And it was just so unbelievable. Like literally to a point where she was friends with the actual detective or cop or whatever at the crime scene and was walking all in the crime scene and nothing was done to her to get these clues. It's like, what? Like that would never happen. This is on Cambridge. Like it was so dumb. It was so dumb. It was so boring. Even though it's a fairly short read, I say skip it. Yeah, it was too much. Then there was this, oh, I'm looking at my notes. There was this kind of like love interest, which I don't really understand why. Kind of spoilery right now, but Fred was this guy who she didn't have relationships with, or a relationship with. Like he was interested in her, she was interested in him. And Fred just kisses her without her permission. And instead of her being like, what the, whoa, that was a loud one. Instead of Mariana being like, what the hell are you doing? You didn't have any consent to kiss me. She goes, huh, maybe there are some feelings there for this man. Nah, 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 nah. We're not here for that. Yeah, don't read this one. Honestly, the Silent Patient isn't that great either. Yeah, I don't think he's a good writer. Just skip it. I know the comments are gonna go crazy on this last one because this is some people's like absolute favorite book, and I'm gonna make this one quick, but it is The Alchemist. Ooh, this felt like such a repetitive, fluffy self-help book to me, and y'all know I do not like self-help books at all. Yeah, okay, let's get into the synopsis. Combining magic, mysticism, wisdom, and wonder into an inspiring tale of self-discovery, The Alchemist has become a modern classic selling millions of copies around the world and transforming the lives of countless readers across generations. That's true. This is so many people's favorite book. Paulo's masterpiece tells the mystical story of Santiago, a shepherd boy who yearns to travel in search of worldly treasure. His quest will lead him to riches far different and far more satisfying than he ever imagined. Santiago's journey teaches us about the essential wisdom of listening to our hearts, recognizing opportunity, and learning to read the omens strewn along life's path, and most importantly, following our dreams. So to be honest, even reading that synopsis, I knew that book was not going to be for me. But this book has probably been recommended to me the most amount of times. So I felt like I had to. It's a book that if you say that you're a reader, so many people come up and be like, have you read The Alchemist? The Alchemist is one of my favorite books of all time. Have you read it? Have you read it? And I just got tired of it. So I was like, maybe there's something that's there that I'm missing. No, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm not really a religious person and there are a lot of religious elements in this book, but it just seemed very surface level, not very deep, not very moving, insanely repetitive, and yeah, it just isn't for me. And I know that that might just be for me, and maybe that means I have an issue, to be honest. But yeah, it just wasn't it, unfortunately. I read it a long time ago, so even thinking about what the plot was 100%, I don't remember. I just remember feeling very self-helpy and preachy and just not my cup of tea. So that's just a me thing, and we'll leave it at that. All right, y'all, that's all I have today. Don't kill me in the comments, but I do want to hear if you agree or disagree on all of these books, and maybe leave a comment also about a book that maybe that I love that you don't like and reasons why. This is the point of it. I like to hear other people's perspectives. So that's it. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe as always. It really helps me out with growing this channel. And other than that, I will talk with y'all in the comments until my next video. See y'all. Bye.